It was just after midnight on March 8, 2014. A Boeing 777, one of the safest and most reliable aircraft ever built, prepared for a routine flight. This was Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, or MH370. It sat on the tarmac at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, its lights cutting through the darkness. 227 passengers, 12 crew members. They were headed for Beijing, China, a journey that should have taken about 6 hours. The mood was calm. Passengers were settling in for the overnight trip, many likely already asleep, trusting they were in good hands. The flight was under the command of a veteran pilot, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah. Everything about this departure seemed completely normal. The plane took off at 12:42 a.m. local time. It climbed gracefully into the night sky, following its planned flight path. For the first 40 minutes, everything went exactly as expected. Air traffic controllers in Malaysia watched its progress. The last verbal communication from the cockpit came at this moment. "Good night, Malaysian 370. Shortly after, flight MH370 vanished from civilian radar screens. It simply disappeared. The search for answers was about to begin. The initial moments after MH370 disappeared from civilian radar were filled with confusion, not panic. They tried to contact the plane again and again, but there was only silence. In Beijing, families waited at the arrival gate, anticipation turning to anxiety as the status board stayed unchanged. What investigators later discovered was chilling. The plane didn't just vanish, it did something deliberate. After its transponder went silent, military radar tracked a sharp turn to the west, deviating from the northbound route to Beijing. This was a controlled action. Someone with knowledge of the Boeing 777 systems had to be at the controls. This wasn't a plane falling from the sky, it was being flown with purpose, its destination a complete mystery. The aircraft continued for hours, flying completely dark. It threaded busy air corridors, seemingly avoiding civilian detection. It flew over the Strait of Malacca, and then out into the vast, empty Indian Ocean. Military radar tracked it for a while, then it flew beyond even that range. The plane became a phantom, flying nearly 7 more hours. Passengers and crew were sealed inside, their fate unknown. As dawn broke on March 8th, the world awoke to the shocking news. The initial search and rescue effort began immediately, focusing on the last known position of the plane in the South China Sea. Ships, aircraft from multiple nations converged on the area, scanning the waves for any sign of wreckage, debris, oil slicks. For days, the international flotilla scoured the sea, but they found nothing. It was like searching for a needle in a haystack, except the haystack was the size of an ocean. The search area was constantly shifting based on new theories and analysis, but when the military radar data revealed the plane's westward turn, the entire search operation had to be completely reoriented. The focus pivoted to the Strait of Malacca, the Andaman Sea. This was a logistical nightmare. The search zone had expanded exponentially, covering thousands of square miles of open water. The real breakthrough came from a British satellite company named Inmarsat. Their satellite had been receiving hourly automated signals or pings from the aircraft long after it disappeared from radar. These pings did not contain GPS data, but analysts were able to use them to calculate the plane's probable distance from the satellite. This analysis created 2 massive arcs of possibility, one stretching north into Central Asia, and another stretching south into the desolate southern Indian Ocean. The search had moved from the surface to the crushing depths of the abyss. For more than a year, the search yielded nothing but frustration. The vast, deep ocean floor kept its secrets locked away. The public followed the news, but the story was always the same: no wreckage found. Then, in July 2015, something finally changed. On the shores of Reunion Island, a man discovered a large piece of aircraft debris washed up on the beach. It was a flaperon, a part of the wing. Investigators rushed to the scene. The serial numbers on the part were analyzed, and soon the confirmation came. It was from a Boeing 777. It belonged to flight MH370. The discovery was a monumental moment, the first tangible proof the plane had crashed into the Indian Ocean. It confirmed the satellite data analysis that pointed the search here. The debris had drifted thousands of miles on ocean currents for over a year before making landfall. While heartbreaking, it provided a sliver of certainty in a case defined by unknowns. Over the next few years, more debris washed ashore across Africa and nearby islands. Pieces of cabin interior, a part of an engine cowling, other fragments. Mozambique, South Africa, Mauritius. In total, more than 20 pieces have been confirmed or are highly likely from MH370. Each piece was meticulously examined. They told a small part of the story. Analysis of the flaperon suggested it was not in a landing position when it broke away. That indicates the plane was not under controlled flight at the very end. It likely crashed into the water at high speed. To this day, in late 2025, no one knows for certain what happened inside that cockpit. The official investigation concluded the change was likely the result of manual inputs, but they could not definitively determine who was in control or why. This lack of a conclusion has left the door open to several leading theories. The most widely discussed theory involves deliberate action by the pilot or the co-pilot. The pilot-suicide mass murder scenario suggests one of the pilots intentionally depressurized the cabin, flew the plane for hours on autopilot, and crashed it into the most remote ocean on Earth. But without the cockpit voice recorder, there is no proof. Another prominent theory is that of a hijacking. Perhaps someone else entered the cockpit and took control of the aircraft. This could have been a passenger with piloting knowledge or a stowaway. The motive for such an act remains a complete unknown. There was no ransom demand, no political statement, and no claim of responsibility from any terrorist group. The idea of a hijacking that ends with the plane flying silently for 7 hours to the middle of nowhere defies the logic of most known hijacking incidents. A third possibility, though considered less likely by most investigators, is a catastrophic technical or electrical failure. Some have proposed a fire or other emergency that incapacitated the crew and disabled the communication systems, leaving the plane to fly on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. MH370 changed aviation forever. It exposed vulnerabilities in global flight tracking and prompted calls for new standards like real-time tracking, ejectable black boxes. But more than that, it shattered our perception of safety in the modern age. The final unanswered question hangs in the air. What really happened on flight MH370, and will we ever know? Ever?